Hello everyone. Good morning. John Graves, instructional designer and project manager here at the LRC. And I'm going to start out with this initial slide, talk amongst yourselves. If you're not familiar with the Saturday Night Live skit of Barbara Wawan, there she is. And we're going to give you a topic, and the topic today is Breakout. So for some of you, Breakout 1976 might look like this, the game Atari Breakout. If you're familiar with that. Breakout circa 1986 is a hit by Swing Out Sister called Breakout. But for today, what we're talking about in this webinar is really today's Breakout. And so Breakout as it relates to using Zoom and the Breakout feature within Zoom. And so I'd like you to kind of make sure that you keep this visual in mind as I walk through Zoom, because I think it'll help to understand how the tool works. So really what the breakout rooms are trying to simulate is a situation where you have different groups that are situated throughout the classroom. And so there's the faculty member there, the instructor, which in this case equals a facilitator that is going through and working with different groups and moving around the room and facilitating different group work, moving from breakout room 1, which this case is the group that's on the far side, to breakout room 2, which is the group on the near side. But she's going to be rotating around these groups, facilitating a piece of group work. And that's really what this breakout room feature is trying to create within the virtual classroom. So here's an outline. So we're going to go over the breakout rooms feature in Zoom, which hopefully will help with facilitating group work activities, but also pair work activities within your virtual classroom. So the first thing that we have to ask ourselves when we're thinking about this is, can you in fact break out? Because in some of your Zoom rooms, the breakout feature is not enabled, and you need to check within your own Zoom profile to see whether or not the breakout room feature is in fact turned on. So I'm going to show you how to do that in the next couple of slides. So first, you're going to have to log into Zoom. And so here's the Zoom login page, and login's just there in the upper right-hand corner. So when you get into your Zoom profile, you're going to have to navigate to settings, which is there on the far left. So if you click on settings, and then you're going to have to scroll down the page a bit, because there are a number of selections that are in this list. And so all the way down towards the bottom is going to be the one specific for turning on the breakout room. So this is the selection here. You want to make sure that breakout room is clicked on, and you can tell that it's on when you see the switch turned over to the right and it's blue. And then also make sure that the checkbox is clicked to allow hosts to assign participants to breakout rooms when scheduling. So make sure those are both clicked. So we're going to go jump into the next feature, which is to say, okay, so now we've checked to see if Zoom the breakout room feature is in fact enabled within Zoom. So now we're going to go ahead and start using the breakout rooms feature. And before we jump in, I like to also add this visual as well, which is to think about Zoom breakouts as someone that's directing traffic. You're directing people into directing students into different rooms to go into different groups. And you're also using, a walkie-talkie feature, really, where you're talking to students, they're talking back. It's very much like a walkie-talkie or text messaging, going back and forth to communicate with your students. So just keep that visual in your mind as well as I walk through this with you. So once you're in your Zoom room, you're going to see at the bottom right, it looks like the breakout rooms feature is enabled. So you'll want to click on breakout rooms. When you click on breakout rooms, you're going to see this box pop up. And so within this box, it gives you the chance to automatically break your, basically split your students off into groups automatically. And you can also specify how many rooms that you want, or in this case, how many groups do you want for your activity. So in this case, by default, it's only one group. But if you wanted 4 groups, 5 groups, 3 groups, you can also specify that here. So by default, breakout rooms is set to automatically split your class into the specific groups. So if you click on automatically and you say create breakout rooms, if you click on that button, what it's going to do is it's just going to split your students off into groups, and you won't necessarily know which students are in which group until you click that button. So you can do that, but as we move forward in this presentation, what I'm going to show is how you can manually assign students to groups, because I think that might be, you might be more interested in doing that. I mean, you have the selection either way, but the next steps of this presentation are walking through how to manually add students in. So if we click on the radio button to select manually, we'll click on that, and then we'll go ahead and click on create breakout rooms. So in this case, I selected to have 4 breakout rooms created, but for any reason, if you decide you want more breakout rooms at the last minute, there at the bottom of the screen, you can click on add a room, and it will add more rooms, or in this case, groups as as needed, and you can do that there. So as you move through, there are additional features that may not be very obvious unless you glide your mouse over breakout rooms. So in this case, if you glide your mouse over breakout room 1, you're going to see some options. One option is that you can rename the room. So if you wanted to rename the room to be like the group leader's name, or if you wanted to give a specific name, you can click rename and then click the breakout room will come out with a text where you can change it. You can also delete the room. So if you realize you have too many rooms set up, you can delete, and that's there. But finally, what we want to go to is clicking assign. So this will allow you to manually assign students to each group. So once you click on assign, you're going to come up, a list of your students is going to come up. In this case, we have 2 students. Obviously, you might have more, but so once you click on assign, it gives you the option of being able to click a checkbox to say, okay, I want Aaron in this group, I want Jack in this group, and you can start pushing them and assigning them into their specific groups this way. Another thing to point out within here is clicking on the options chevron down at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. It does give you some additional options and you're more than welcome to check those out. But to be honest, I would keep this switched as it is by default. But I just wanted to let you know that those additional features are there. Like, for example, move all participants into breakout rooms automatically means that it basically auto moves everyone in regardless, which I don't think you really need to switch on. But most of these features I would just leave clicked as is, but I just wanted to show this to you as some additional options that are available. So once you're ready, once you have all your students in the rooms that you specifically want them in, you can click on open all rooms, which will then start the rooms up. What the students are going to see is they're going to see a screen that looks like this, which basically says that the rooms are being created. Please hold on. The system is churning and getting those rooms created for you. So all the students will see this. Now the rooms are created and they're in their specific groups. So let's say there's a situation where you want to be a facilitator and you want to speak to one of these groups. In this case, the instructor wants to tell the group that you'll be returning to the main group in 5 minutes. So in this case, you click on, this is the instructor's view, you click on breakout rooms, and that brings up the management screen for for breakout rooms. And then you're able from there to be able to broadcast. You can click on the different groups and broadcast different messages to them. And in this case, what the students will see when you broadcast that message of 5 minutes, they're going to see this pop up on their screen as a message to the group saying, hey, could you please return back to the main classroom in 5 minutes. So this is what message shows up. So what if the students have a question? So on the student screen, they're going to see a icon that says ask for help. If they click on that ask for help button, it will give them, that gives them the opportunity to, it alerts the instructor to say that we need your help in this particular activity. And then the instructor can go in, they get this message, and it allows them to go into the breakout room and be able to, facilitate and and have questions be answered by different members of, have the questions, have the students ask questions to the instructor within the breakout room regarding the activity. So I realized that I went through these features fairly fast, and it is a lot to take in. But I wanted to kind of close with just a couple of pieces of advice based on my experience with using breakout rooms. One of them is you're definitely going to have a sense of humor because I think initially when you start using breakout rooms, it is a little bit, you have to get used to the rhythm and where things are, how students communicate to you, how you communicate to your students. It's going to take some time to do that. So just give yourself that time and be good to yourself, understanding that you really have to practice using this. The second thing is visualization. So visualize, and going back to the first, one of the first slides that I put up, visualize that situation where you're in a classroom, there are a number of groups that are within your classroom, and you are rounding these groups to see, during the activity, to monitor them and answer any questions. This is really simulating that type of interaction within your classroom. So if you can keep that picture in mind, I think it'll be very helpful in facilitating one of these activities and making it successful. Also, I said this in yesterday's webinar, and I will say it again, rehearse. You can rehearse with friends, rehearse with family, or rehearse with your colleagues. Those are opportunities to try out the communication, try out the features before you actually try them in a live classroom situation, online. And also have your first breakout session with your class be some fun activity, not a high stakes activity. The reason being is that that's going to add extra tension to a situation that's already very new for many of your students. So think of something fun, a group activity like, what did you do over spring break? Or how are you, whatever topics that you can think of, but have something fun that they can go into the breakout rooms, try the feature, and get comfortable with it. And finally, there are many details, additional features that are available within breakout rooms that I did not go over in this presentation, but I did add a link to the Zoom page regarding breakout rooms that has a number of really great tutorials on how to use it. Obviously, the LRC will be available to answer any questions that you have, but there's some really great articles here to refer to that could be of real help to you. So I also want to plug our COVID-19 preparedness virtual language instruction page, which is online, and it has a number of great articles, tips, and tricks on how to do virtual language instruction. I also want to reference the About Us page in the Language Resource Center to get the contact information for members of the team that just in case you want to contact us. And I will close with my own contact information, and also Sam on the team is also, we're going to be working in tandem to provide assistance and ask questions in regards to virtual instruction and help you when you need it. And I'll just close there and kind of open the floor up to any questions that you might have.
And actually, if I can jump in here real quick, some of the things John just mentioned toward the end here, rehearsing with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Our LRC student assistants are also on standby. You can schedule a time where we can have them be your trial students if you want to practice with any of those features. If you do that from within Canvas, of course, you would have to add them to Canvas. But keep that in mind that there are students here at the LRC who can help with that as well. And to also follow up on the thing that John mentioned about the first day, make sure that the first day you go over everything. Don't actually dive in and just do normal instruction. The students are very confused by all of this. This will be a new environment for them. We did a webinar on day one as well, so we invite you to review the things that we discussed in that. But having heard from many colleagues whose children just had their first college class online, there are so many things that are going to happen where the technology fails, where the students don't know where to go and what to do. So keep that in mind. Make sure that you introduce your students to the expectations and that you talk to them about what you're going to do, how you're going to use this new virtual space, what the expectations are. So keep those things in mind here. So John, a couple of questions that came up. One question was, do I need to set up the room each time I do a breakout room activity? So do you have to set the time, the alarm before closing? Do you have to do that each time?
So I believe there's a feature that, and I couldn't go over that today but there is a feature where you can reactivate the rooms that you had previously. And so I've had mixed success with that feature. It's supposed to save your groups, and then you're supposed to click open rooms and it'll just put them back in the pre-assigned groups that you did in the last class. So I didn't go over that because I've had mixed success with it, but it says that you're able to do that within the Zoom documentation.
Okay. Another question is, what do you do when you have an uneven number of students? So if you use the automatic feature, would one student end up being by themselves in a group?
Yeah.
And I think that depends on how many groups you set, right? So you would have to set the number of groups in such a way that this is math, I can't do math, but that you don't end up with having one student. So if you have 7 students, just don't have 4 breakout rooms if you have them in pairs, right?
That's definitely, one way to mitigate it. The other way you can is there's always the option to delete rooms before you open them. So if you see that scenario coming, there is a way before you open the rooms to decrease the number of rooms and prevent that situation from happening. My math skills are just awful. So I think sometimes having the visual of, oh my goodness, there's one person that's by themselves makes it, it's okay. Then it means I have to delete a room and then add that person to another room. So there are ways you can look at that before you open everything and start it up.
So one question or request is, can we try out the breakout room right now?
Like,
well, we're all on here.
Oh, you mean right now?
Yeah, like right now, because a lot of people are interested to see what this looks like from the student perspective as well. And again, with something like that, if a number of your colleagues are interested in playing around with that, the LRC staff and our students are available to schedule specific times. So I don't know if you want to try that right now, John.
Sure, I can. I just want to make sure. Are there any other questions before?
Yeah, good point. So one more question: if you assign students automatically, can you still switch them manually as well, or is that option disabled?
That option's disabled. You would have to go back. You'd have to go back, click on the radio button, and then go to automatic. So you'd have to close all the rooms and then hit breakout again, and then go to automatic to get that automatic, to get them to automatically be put into their rooms.
Are there any other? Yeah, so you definitely do have to be careful about how many rooms you have open, and you can close them too. But I mean, generally, you guys know how many students you have, and depending on what you want to do, how you want your students to engage with one another, if you just want them to have one other partner in a room, that's a slightly different scenario than if you want to have more than 2 people in one room. So generally, assuming that all of your students are online during the specific class time, you should have a better sense of how many rooms you need, but you can always adjust it, close them, and then reopen them again. Are there other questions before we all get sorted into breakout rooms here? Awesome. So just as a reminder, check our LRC preparedness page. We have another webinar scheduled for tomorrow at 10 a.m. So we hope that you can join us for that as well, where we go over some other additional tools in Zoom. And then we are also planning a continuation of our webinar series where we focus on how do you engage students in this online space? What are some considerations from the student perspective? And then eventually we'll also dive into things like how do you do assessments in this space, specifically in Canvas. And if there are any questions that all of you have, please do let us know. Stay in touch. But I think hearing no other questions, let's try out this breakout feature here.